Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Vegan Spirituality online gathering. My name's Lisa Levinson, and I'm one of the founders of Vegan Spirituality, and I am so excited to present this to you live and also to share with you this project that we've been doing for several years now, which explores veganism as a spiritual practice, and you can do so during a gathering like this or on an in-person gathering. You can find a local vegan spirituality group at veganspirituality.com. But we're really thrilled to myself and my partner here, Judy Carmen, who is the author of Peace to All Beings and Homo Ahimsa. Together, we're going to bring a special couple of guests to you this evening, and Judy's going to introduce them to you now.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here, and thank you all for coming and joining us. I think you're going to be so glad you did. I am going to introduce Suzanne McAllister, PhD, and Ann Piotrowski, MA. They are the co-creators of the PAUW Project, which stands for Post-Animal Use World. And just to take the meaning of that in is pretty profound. So we're really excited to hear about that. I'll start by introducing Suzanne. Suzanne woke up to the horrors of the food industry in 2005 and transitioned that year to veganism. She is an organizing member of Vegan Spirituality, the Vegan Spirituality Group of Philadelphia, and runs the Vegan Spirituality Facebook page and meetup groups, which I know is a lot of work, but a great contribution. In late 2020, she created a YouTube channel, which is so cool. It's called Interviews with a Friendly Vegan, and I highly recommend you go to that YouTube and check some of those out. She collaborates with Ann Piotrowski in promoting conversations with a friendly vegan, what a great idea. She has consulted with Animals and Society Institute and is also actively involved in efforts to retire Lolita Tokitai, the captive orca at the Miami Seaquarium, which I know we've all, it's all broken our hearts to know what she's gone through for decades there. So we want to hear more about that, of course. And she's involved in many other campaigns to redress the practice of man's domination of non-human animals. Now, Ann is a nationally certified counselor, a vegan life coach, and an activist on a mission to help people practice greater authenticity and find deeper connections even where there is significant disagreement, which is what the Conversations with a Friendly Vegan is all about. And what a great idea, and how do we need that? Oh my goodness, we do. So she is the founder of Conversations with a Friendly Vegan and co-creator of the PAUW Project. The Conversations with a Friendly Vegan is a philosophy and framework that integrates the compassion inherent in veganism, which we all identify with, into communication with other people, which we've talked about that a lot, and it's so important to apply our loving veganism to everyone, no matter whether they're vegan or not, and have these friendly conversations. The purpose is to shift the focus of vegan advocacy from conflict to connection by applying self-compassion, empathy, and nonviolent communication. Ann teaches vegans the skills to confidently speak up, which we want to do, in a way that non-vegans can hear, which is really important. In this way, compassionately expressed disagreements can actually bond rather than divide. In partnership with Suzanne, Ann is dedicated to helping people explore what the world might look like when it's, let's see, I lost my place. But what that's the PAUW Project. and yes, look like when humans refrain from using animals the way we do now. So the PAUW Project is the result of that collaboration. It is a collection of visions, many beautiful and other equally important visions that present the potential pitfalls as we move toward greater and greater compassion for all sentient beings. And so that is conversationswithafriendlyvegan.com. And then there's also PAUWproject.com, which is PAUW project.com. And I don't know if someone would like to put those in the chat, that would be very helpful. And anything else, Suzanne or Anne, if you want to put in the chat websites for people, that'd be great. So both of you are involved in so many fascinating projects. We're not going to be able to cover them all. We'll try. We especially want to hear about the PAUW Project that you created together. But why don't we start out with each of you telling us a little bit about how, what your vegan story, how you went vegan. Suzanne, you want to start?
Sure. As you said in the introduction, I started my journey in 2005. And I'll just briefly say that I was coming back from a 10-day silent retreat in January of 2005. So when you're silent for 10 days, it does something to your inner being. And so I think I was ripe, open, however you want to put it. And for a long time, I had been really mystified and discouraged by what I saw was the American population seeming to become very unhealthy. And with the rise of obesity and heart disease and all the things that go along with that. So I picked up a book called Fast Food Nation. And I thought, well, this is just going to tell me what's happening with fast food, and is that one of the causes, et cetera. Anyway, unbeknownst to me, there was a chapter about factory farming. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. And I was horrified, and I thought to myself, how did I not know this? How did I not ever think about this before? So anyway, I'm sure everybody who's probably listening has those moments where they wake up, and that's what happened to me. And the transition was gradual. It took about a year to get rid of everything. Dairy was the last for me to go, because I continued to kid myself into thinking, well, the dairy cows don't have it that bad, because I was still picturing them on the in the pasture grazing. Well, we all know that's not what they're doing. So anyway, that is how I woke up, how I learned about it. And then, you know, I have never looked back, and it's one of the 2 or 3 best decisions I've ever made in my life, if not the best. So.
Wow. Thanks. Great. That's great to hear.
It's changed my life in every way.
Yeah, I think it has for all of us. So Anne, tell us your story.
Sure. I went vegan in 2012, and there was a combination of things going on that prompted that. For me, I was mostly vegetarian at that point, and I was into yoga, and there was the ahimsa philosophy, but I don't think I totally understood what that meant until going vegan. So, but there was a school shooting at the end of 2012, the Newtown school shooting. And it was just something that shook me. You know, I had, of course, been aware of violence is not something new. Unnecessary and senseless violence is something that I heard in the news forever. I was raised by immigrants who had to flee a country because of violence. So I had heard stories, but there was something about that time that and the fact that it was children, and I had a child who was the same age as those children, that shook me in a way. It was, I guess the word I would use is that it was a more visceral experience. Then I just got so sick of violence. And it made me, and at the same time, again, a book too, just like Suzanne, you picked up Fast Food Nation. For me also, at the same time, I happened to be reading a book that I thought was about weight loss, because even though I was shaken by violence, I also felt that I needed to lose weight. So I don't know, we're complicated humans, but it was the book Skinny Bitch. So by the title, I just thought it was about weight loss, but it also had a chapter in it about factory farming. And I am certain that I had previously heard some semblance of what was happening in factory farms before, but because of this timing and this visceral experience and this being so sick of violence, and also then kind of being more self-reflective and saying, well, if I'm so sick of violence, how am I living, and how does it relate to my day in and day out behavior, my choices? So it was just a transformative thing, and I decided to, I was like, it was just one day at the dinner table that I said to my husband and my daughter, who was really young at that time, but I said, I think I'm going to go vegan. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it for a month. And they were supportive, and I did. And 3 days in, I was like, this is it. I know this is right. I feel it. I just feel it in my heart that this is just the right thing. And then that was it. That was it for me. I have been vegan ever since. And then I just set about trying to become a vegan advocate at some point shortly after that, when I stopped being a little too overwhelmed by it. So that's it. That's my story.
Oh, thanks, Anne. Yeah, so thank heavens for both of you for seeing the truth, seeing what was really going on. And so let's talk about the PAUW Project. I know people are going to want to know what they can do. I think there's a lot of things that different people can add to the PAUW Project. And it's part of, to me, it's so important because we're really big on visualizing and the actual power of visualizing, and that if we don't visualize what a vegan world is going to look like, can we even make it happen? And so I just see visualization as an incredibly important part of this transition, because we're actually trying to create a world we've never had before. Human beings have never created a world like that, unless Genesis was right and it was vegan then, and maybe some other legends also, or historical stories. There is evidence, but as far as purposefully creating a vegan world, this is what we're trying to do now. And it's when we're confronted everywhere we go with billboards saying the opposite, it is very challenging and to visualize this vegan world. So
Yeah.
I think what you guys are doing is just so key and so important. So please start talking about it, telling us, and how we can help.
Well, I think the billboards thing is true, but I think it even goes so much deeper than that, because what we're really up against to a degree is not just billboards, but it's everything I learned from the time I was born. It's generation after generation after generation for thousands and thousands of years, learning what role animals play in our lives. So it's very deeply ingrained ideas about that, to the point that, like, going vegan represented something like, in my family, my community, as being absurd. It wasn't something that anybody in my family was able to conceive, And it wasn't something that I was able to conceive until I was. So I think that's part of this project is, it's funny that when we read Homo Himsa and Suzanne and I started to come up with this project as we were talking, even though I had been vegan for some time, and even though I'm a counselor and Suzanne is background is she's a psychotherapist, we know the importance of when you want to reach a goal, having that vision of what that result looks like, right? We know that. And yet I had never really stopped to consider what it would really mean if we shifted towards I didn't even know exactly what a vision was, much less what it would look like if we shifted towards a vision in that way. So it was it was a little bit of a like duh moment, like what, why hadn't I thought of that before? Why hadn't we thought about that before? So then we just start to think, wouldn't it be nice to hear from, would it be great to hear from other people? Maybe there are other people out there, other vegans and non-vegans alike, who have never really considered what that would mean. When we do ask, for vegans, I feel like it becomes something inspiring to be able to think about it for yourselves, and then also to hear from other people and hear about other people's visions. I know it really is inspiring to me to read other people's visions. And then for non-vegans, just like I was referring to my family, how they just were not, it's not something that would ever enter their mind frame. It's not something that, in a way, it's like, I see my role as being kind of an interrupter of the normal pattern. So there's this normal thought pattern, and it is normal. It's normalized to consume animals and use animals. So I'm kind of getting in there as an interrupter by saying, well, what do you think about, what about this? What if this happened? What do you think? What do you think? And then it can go in so many different directions depending on who we're talking to. What is the pushback? What are the fears? What are the concerns? What will it do to the economy? What will it do? Who will lose jobs? Who will, all of these questions do come up, and there's no judgment. There's no, it's just bring it on, bring it all on, all of it, the good, the uplifting, and also the things that might be scary for some people, so that we can actually see it and address it.
So a couple of things for those who may not have had a chance to visit the website and are just hearing about this. We called it the Post-Animal Use World and purposely did not put the word vegan in the title, because I think the word has become loaded for some people. And we felt this was really descriptive of what we were hoping. So it really says this is the world we would love to live in. So there were those two aspects of it. In terms of your book, Homo Himsa, Judy, I think both Anne and I, but I'll speak for myself, reading that reminded me of a belief I have, which is I believe we are truly good people. Even people who commit horrible actions, I think if we got to their core, we would find something good and beautiful. And whatever has happened to twist that, I'm not going to get into that here. But so the whole idea of Homo Himsa, which to me was like an invitation, this is how we would like the world to be. And that was so in alignment with not using animals for anything other than what they want to be used for. So that was how we, or at least how I came to this with Anne. We talked so much, it's hard to know who started what, and it's almost like we think in tandem, let's put it that way. And I see it as a living project. And by that, my hope is that people will just continue to contribute. There's something called StoryCorps on NPR, where people interview other people. And this goes into an archive in Washington, D.C., and it's been going on for years. And my hope is that this will become like a movement, which is why we really want people to contribute. They will be published on the website. We hope eventually to have a book that is published. If we get enough art contributions, we'll have an art exhibit and maybe a traveling art exhibit. During the AIDS crisis, there was something called the Aids Quilt. I can picture a quilt with people making contributions to that, whether it's in words or images, that would travel around so that it becomes both a movement and an inspiration. And our hope is to really reach out to non-vegans, people who maybe are beginning to question, who there's a slight opening, and how do we encourage that opening? So that's how I see it, and where it goes is really hard to say, depending on what kind of response we get.
So how can people get involved? What could everybody, like tonight, what could everybody do?
So, I mean, we do have the website, pawproject.com. And if you go to it, you will both see some of the contributions that have already been made. And there's a link that says share, and that will take you to a form where you can write your vision. And it's really, what's your vision? And like Anne said, include in it, if you see impediments, what do you see as the impediments? Well, our hope is that we might get economists to weigh in and say, this is what it would look like to go from industry where we're raising animals for food and transitioning those farmers to doing something else. Training programs for people who raise chickens. What might they do? How can they transfer those skills to something else? Philosophers, politicians, I think we have to reach out to our local politicians, make friends with them, start talking to them about their animal policies. So it can be so wide ranging, but to start with anybody on this call would be to go to the website, and we'd love to hear your visions. I know there's at least one person on the call. She and her friend / colleague wrote a song and they've performed it. So we also hope to have audio.
Yeah, really anything. And I think that part of it is that the reason you do a vision, let's say if I was working with a client, like as a therapeutic tool, is because having that vision helps to draw you closer to reaching that goal, right? So, and the reason is that, the things that seem unbelievable that they could happen, the more you think about it, the more you vision that, it becomes more believable, really. And I realized when we started this project that even though in me, I really wanted the world to go vegan, I didn't believe it. I didn't really believe it could happen. And working on this has really started a shift in me where it really doesn't seem far. It was seeming far-fetched to me, and it doesn't really anymore. And actually, when I look at it now, I realize just how much movement has already occurred in that direction. And having some understanding of how these changes tend to happen, it's oftentimes like very slow at first, and then it hits a tipping point, and then things start to happen more rapidly. And I don't know how close we are to that tipping point, but it's certainly something that seems more tangible to me now. And when I talk to people who are not vegan, I feel a shift sometimes in them, because when you introduce an idea or a vision to people who wear it and does never even cross their mind, it does have it can create that opening that Suzanne referred to, just that little opening. So the more of us that there are sharing our visions, and the more ways that we can do this, whether it's on our website or in a book or maybe on a podcast where we're reading them and writing songs and creating art, it starts to become more realistic to everyone. Everybody starts to say, well, yeah, I guess that could work. So that's part of it.
And just the title alone, if somebody asks, well, what does PAUW stand for? And you say a post-animal use world, and they've never actually even thought about, well, what do we use animals for? Like, it's not even in their minds.
Yeah, that's what I love.
They've totally disconnected that we're actually eating animals. No, I'm eating a hamburger. That's not an animal.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just, and I'm not being critical, because I was there. I know what that feels like. So that might even, if somebody walks away and says, what the heck does that mean? And then maybe they start thinking about, well, what do we use animals for?
Right.
You know,
yeah.
pulling a carriage in Central Park that's supposed to be romantic.
Mm-hmm.
And the horse collapses in the heat. There's nothing romantic about that. But anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, I love the title. It's just, it says so much in those few words that just hearing what that acronym stands for can be mind-blowing if you just let it sink in a little bit.
I have to tell you a funny story. So Anne and I were tabling at an entrepreneurs gathering. And we had our cards, we had some brochures, and people kept coming up to us and asking where the dog biscuits were. So, and some of you on the webinar haven't seen the logo maybe yet, but it's a paw print and then a heart. So they were thinking, PAUW Project, well, it must have something to do with dogs. So again, it's like totally, and we purposely wanted to go someplace that there would be no preconceived ideas about what this means. And we learned a lot. Okay, so they think we're selling dog food. So,
which I then thought might be a good giveaway to get people to come up to the tables.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe dog biscuits with a little thing, a card, business card, or you know, bigger card. Yeah. And yeah, I was at a tabling a few weeks ago, and we had some little cards that Vita Stram had put together about her book. And it had one of those little circle things that you photograph with your phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then they could photograph that. It took them right to everything. Yes. So you could do something like that.
We have that on our cards.
Oh, okay. So just tie a little ribbon around the dog biscuit and the card.
Yeah.
Little vegan dog biscuit.
Yeah.
It's got to be vegan. Yeah.
Of course.
So I'm wondering if, so would it be in the Q&A that people would ask questions, or how do we manage that, Judy?
Yeah, I want to be sure everybody hears from you, Suzanne, about Lolita.
Okay.
And maybe a little bit more about the friendly vegan idea.
Okay.
And then we should open up for Q&A, because it's 7:36 right now, so we've got got some time. But I do want everybody to be able to, because I'm seeing just chat after chat. People are really fascinated with what you're saying. So
I did put the link to the, somebody had asked for the link to the website, and I did put it in the chat. So
thank you.
You might have to scroll up at this point, but
yeah.
So I'll give a quick
Lolita
update. So I wore in her honor my little Orca charm here.
Beautiful.
And today is World Orca Day, so it's a good time to be talking about her. And so I'll try to be brief. the Miami Seaquarium, where she has been for just shy of 52 years, was sold in October to an outfit called the Dolphin Company. And the owner of the Dolphin Company seems to be, well, basically he has agreed to consider not holding her anymore. As part of the lease agreement with the mayor and the county commissioner in Miami, he had to agree that she would no longer perform. So she is no longer performing and has not been since, I think it's last summer, almost a year. She was very, very sick in the winter when she was still, the transition to the Dolphin Company had not happened yet. Also, as part of the lease agreement, the Dolphin Company had to agree that independent veterinarians were going to come in and assess her health and that it would be made public. This has never happened in the 52 years that she's been held captive. We got the first report from the independent vets in mid-June, so just about a month ago. And they basically said she had been very, very sick and that she was on pretty high doses of antibiotics. She got much better. They tried to wean her off the antibiotics and she got sick again. So let me add a gentleman by the name of Mr. Singh, who is in Miami. He's a real estate developer, started something called Friends of Lolita. He has agreed to fund her care, her transport for the rest of her life. So everything is moving in the right direction. She's no longer performing. The Dolphin Company is willing to let her go. There's the money to do it. Now her health is what she needs to be rehabilitated to some extent. There are many hoops that still have to be jumped through. There are federal agencies that have to sign off on this, and the captivity industry people will say, if she has pathogens, she cannot be retired to a sea pen because she puts other marine life at risk. That's going to be their argument. There are very smart people, very knowledgeable people who are working on this. So we're hoping that we will be able to address that. But I would say right now, the biggest obstacle is her health. She's getting good care, but for me, it's a catch-22. Until she gets out of that tank, I don't see how she's going to get healthy. And they don't want to let her out until she's healthy. So I'm sure other people who are marine biologists, I'm not, have thought about this. So I don't know what is being done to address that, but that's where things stand. So it's good news. On the face of it, it's the best news she's had in 52 years. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for working on that. I know you've put a lot of time and effort into it, Suzanne. Yeah. And it's so heartbreaking. So those of us who aren't living in Miami and, all that, we can pray, we can visualize.
So there are a couple of organizations. Friends of Lolita is this nonprofit that was started by this man, Mr. Singh. I think he's taking donations. I don't know, but there will be updates about her. There's also something on Facebook, the Orca Network /Retire Lolita, where there are constant updates. The whale sanctuary is also very involved in consulting with the Dolphin Company and with Friends of Lolita. Charles Vinnick is the executive director. He was very involved in Kiko's transition from his tank to the sea pen and then to Iceland. And that was almost 20 years ago. So very, very knowledgeable. So any of those groups, Sacred Sea is also the Native American tribe that considers Lolita Tokite their relative, and they are also very involved. So any of those organizations, you could donate to them. You can certainly go to them, and you will get up-to-date information.
Thank you. That's great. So that gives us a lot of things to do for Lolita.
Yeah,
All
I'll
right.
just say one last thing, which is, and I can put it in the chat, the mayor of Miami and the county commissioner have been incredibly helpful. And the reason is that they were inundated for years with emails and texts and tweets about her. And so there was a lot of pressure. It was always done respectfully, which I think made a big difference. And they were instrumental in making these demands with the Dolphin Company as that lease transfer was happening.
Right. Yeah.
So it really does help. I think sometimes we throw up our hands with the political situation, but I think especially if you're on a more local level, your voice is often heard more than you think it is.
Well,
So,
especially a tourist area like that.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They want their tourists to keep coming. Okay, so maybe quickly talk a little bit about the friendly vegan thing. Anne, would you like to do that?
Sure.
It's such a key thing, and we've talked about it a lot on this show, how important it is to be friendly vegans.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think most vegans are. I think we get an unfair reputation, which I think speaks less to how vegans interact with people and more to people's discomfort. So what I started to do conversations with a friendly vegan as a way for me to be an advocate in a way that felt right for me. So what skills did I have? I had skills as a counselor. So I said, okay, well, I'll talk to people, I'll go out or get people to talk to me. I'll listen to people, really. And so I started to do tables with a sign that just said, how about a conversation with a friendly vegan? So that people would, I was just inviting them into a conversation. It was great. I mean, it's a table, I've done it many times at this point, and I always get a good crowd of people and always interesting comments and questions. And it evolved in a way that I started to put together a more formal idea of the skills involved in addressing that undeserved reputation, the assumptions that are often made about us. When I was early in veganism, I oftentimes, because of my personality, would become more quiet and silent when I got some pushback, and that felt terrible to me. I wanted to be able to speak, but to be able to speak in a way that people could hear me. And so the skills that I put together, that I developed for myself and then started to work with other people to help them, are ones that help to communicate unequivocally. So there's no apologies or no saying you do you or something like that. There's no like, oh, well, I'll just do what's right for me and you do what's right for you, because there are victims involved, and that doesn't, there's that moral equivalency problem. How to communicate that in a way that leads to a connection that can lead to deeper conversation, rather than putting a stop to the conversation by introducing lots of defensiveness and stuff like that. So that's it. We'll get back into, I've taken a little break. I was doing monthly Zoom meetings, and that was in large part because during the pandemic, tables were a lot harder to do. So I'm just gearing up again to get back into doing tables and doing Zoom meetings, and also taking on clients who are interested in pursuing it in a deeper way. And there's
So-
a website, conversationswithafriendlyvegan.com. I will put it in the chat there.
Okay, so if someone wanted to get some guidance from you personally, they could.
Yeah,
And then there's also the Zoom meetings, and those
Yeah.
are, okay.
yeah.
And
So
then-
the Zoom meetings are, I took a step back to kind of reassess and decide how I wanted to move forward with that. Normally, though, they are actually run through the Vegan Spirituality of Philadelphia meetup page.
Okay,
So that's where somebody would find that. Also, I would post it on the website, on my website as well. So
okay.
keep an eye out for those, but
Yes.
I'm taking a little bit of time to think about how I want to move forward.
Right, okay.
And did you mention your newsletters? I'm sorry, because I was.
Yeah, so I do have
Okay.
a subscription on the website that I will be sending out monthly newsletters. Again, it's like I was sending out monthly newsletters and just the PAUW Project is taking a lot of my attention in a good way. I'm loving it. That will be something. And I just talk about all different topics related to what comes up for us. I think anybody here who's vegan has had at least one, maybe many interactions that felt at best awkward and at most just had you walking away feeling just terrible, either because you felt that you couldn't speak or that you spoke and were not understood or heard really, or that there was a dismissiveness, that when something's like what we're talking about is really dear to us and important to us. So when there's a sense of it being kind of dismissed as trivial or unimportant or silly, that can be very painful. So.
Yeah, that's so true. I know everybody can identify with that. So that is great. We can go to your website and sign up for your newsletter.
Yes, I will put the link in the chat.
Great. Okay. So maybe Lisa, maybe you could open it up for questions. Are you there?
Yes, I am. So thank you
Yes.
to everyone for,
Hasn't this been great?
yes, I knew it would be, and it was even better than I thought. So thanks to both of you, Anne and Suzanne, for sharing all about the PAUW Project and also about your individual passions that you've been working on for quite a while. So thank you for all that you're doing. And just a little note: we have Linda Middlesworth is with us right now as a participant, and she is a veggie dog or V dog. She runs that, so that might be a neat connection for you guys if you wanted to do your business cards with the vegan dog treat. You could maybe talk to her, and I'd be happy to introduce you if you'd like.
Yes.
Maybe you could put in
I
your
think I've
information.
listened to a webinar with her, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yes. Yes. Linda is fabulous vegan activist for many years, and we're just delighted that she's joining us today. And maybe that's the reason, sort of a synchronistic connection with the PAUW Project.
Yes.
So this is a great opportunity for anyone who would like to ask any other questions. You're welcome to either put them into the Q&A portion of the Zoom down at the very bottom of the Zoom frame there on the screen, or you can put them right into the chat box. If you have any other questions to ask Anne or Suzanne, this is a great time. And those are probably the easiest ways to do it. You can also raise your hand if you'd like to use that feature, and then we can try to unmute you. It says here, so you're getting some positive comments, some love in the chat box here, that because we have some really powerful men out there who are these role models for veganism. A lot of them are doctors, and it's wonderful to have some women role models out there, and that's what you two represent. And also we have a doctor in our midst as well, Suzanne.
Thank you.
And Tessa's asking for the website link for Anne, if you don't mind putting the
So
conversations.
it is there for conversations. It's
Yes, up a few, like
yeah,
3 or
Janet,
4.
is it Janet? Oh, Tessa put that in there. It's 1, 2, 3. It's 4 up on my screen. I can
Yes,
put it in there
you
again.
know what it is? It's just a little technical thing. You're sending your
Ah.
emails out to host and panelists, so you want to send it out to everyone. But I'll go ahead and
Oh, am I doing that? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
No worries.
there you go. Oh, see, oh, such a rookie mistake. Here we go.
That's
There
okay.
we go.
I did it.
Oh,
I
and
did it.
I did the same thing. Okay, so.
A little Zoom
I'll
trick.
send the PAUW Project as well.
Yes.
I have that right
So,
here.
and does anyone else have any questions? I mean, one thing I want to say, I really appreciate, Anne, when you're talking about how to feel good when you're having conversations. That's so key because many of us have had that experience, and some people even mentioned it in the chat box here, of feeling dejected or bullied or feeling just unappreciated. All of that just from trying to share something that you care about. And I think that's what's so important, is to keep ourselves uplifted. And also, how do we continue having those conversations? And it's definitely a struggle with families, but also with other people that we want to, they may be curious about it, or maybe they're just wanting some insight themselves.
Yeah. So I think what happens for, even as you're talking, Lisa, and that you're talking about those feelings, I feel it. So I'm like putting myself in that position and remembering particular moments, and it's just such a heavy feeling. You know, for me, I know it's different for everybody, but for me, I've gone to many gatherings or had conversations where I just walked out feeling this heaviness of like, I just don't feel understood or seen or heard. And it did take me some time, but when I first went vegan, to really try to integrate what I had learned as a counselor, the work I had also done on myself as a, you know, I've been on both sides of the couch, so to speak. You know, I've been a therapist and a client. I do recommend looking up nonviolent communication. That's just a field of study that I've studied for years, and it really helps me to remember how to approach those kinds of conversations. I realized that it was, at some point, it was no longer an option for me to stay quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I really needed to find a way to speak in a way that was real. I could not pretend. In my mind, my silence was communicating that I agreed with something that I didn't agree with. Mm-hmm. So I needed to be clear with myself and with other people. So a lot of it is about understanding the way I see things, because veganism touches upon almost every single issue I can think of. So it required some introspection and thought on that to know where I stand on different things. And then also approaching it, I had to let go of any idea of convincing anybody of anything, because it just felt like a losing battle, because anytime I felt like I went into persuasion mode, I actually felt the physical pulling away from me, you know, somebody leaning back or moving away or turning away or digging in their heels. So that's, I mean, there's a lot to it. It's very simple, but then there's also, I could keep talking for a long time, so I don't want to dominate.
Oh no, this is the idea. It's maybe the difference between dominating and taking your space. Just taking your space.
Thank you.
And yeah. I wanted to add about how Anne works and what she's taught me. Authenticity is one of the key words, and you used that, Judy, when you were introducing her. The other notion is becoming comfortable with discomfort. And so if we're having a conversation, rather than swallowing our words and deciding, no, I'm actually going to say something that might create a little bit of discomfort in me and the other person, I'm not talking about shaming. I'm not talking about being aggressive, but just saying our truth and that that's okay. And I had to get comfortable with that whole idea, that it's all right to make somebody a little uncomfortable by just saying what is true for me.
And to feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
you know, that's
I don't
almost
like
always
it,
part of
but
it.
I don't like it, but I'm trying to do it.
I don't look, if you're a people pleaser like I am, if I'm a recovering people pleaser, then it can feel very uncomfortable to it can feel uncomfortable to feel uncomfortable, and to pursue a conversation where somebody else feels uncomfortable.
Yes.
So there are ways to do, even talking about our vision. So bringing it back kind of to the PAUW Project, which I really would love to tell people my, you know, like when I'm out having these conversations, to share my vision and then to hear what they think. You know, when somebody comes back at me with something kind of, you know, contradicting, or whatever, you're being naive or you're whatever, then there is also an awful lot of kind of like listening and taking that in, and connecting, because the truth is that at one time or another in my life, I've probably seen things very similarly to what that person is communicating to me, and remembering that helps me to make that connection and be a little more empathic and say, you know, I hear what you're saying, and I don't agree with it anymore. I used to. If you had asked me, you know, how many years ago, I don't know, but you know, I would have been like, yeah, you're right, and I'm just not there anymore. Can I share with you why that is? You know, can I share with you what changed for me? That's just,
yeah,
That's
just
beautiful.
one way to do it.
I mean, there's so many different ways to do activism. There's, you know, there's the Voices for the Voiceless. There's different ways to stand up and speak out, and this is one. And this might be really appealing to those of us who have that people-pleasing tendency, or have had fear in the past about speaking our truth. And so you're providing a wonderful way, a path forward for a lot of us who would identify with that.
yes.
I also wanted to ask one question that's from Sally Zito, who's a dear friend who also mentioned that she's working on a similar project. So it might be interesting for you guys to connect. Sally Zito is a musician and composer. So I'm guessing her project has something to do with music. And she asks, she's in Tennessee at the moment, asks, how do you choose the stories and visualizations that you share on the recent posts section of the PAUW Project? And that she's read a few and love to read more and share her own visualization. So maybe a little bit more about how you select those, and also perhaps putting the link to actually put the where to submit your own post.
Okay. I can put it in again, but it's PAUWproject.com is the website, and you can share your vision there. And so far, I don't think we've gotten any visions that we did not feel we could publish. We haven't published them all yet, because we keep getting them. So when we get them, we tend to publish them. And it's that simple. Yeah.
I think sometimes if they're just very short, or like a sentence or two, then we've held on to those and maybe tried to communicate with the person, say, well, tell us more about that. Tell us more about what you know, give us more of an idea of what you're thinking.
And we've been talking to some publishers, and if and when the time comes that we actually put it in book form, which is our hope, it's hard to say ahead of time how we would choose. Obviously, the ones that we think are very compelling, or that you know, would touch people, or are, you know, unique in whatever way. So, but we welcome hearing from anybody. So
will there be a way, like if someone sends you a song,
yes.
you can put that on there? You've got that
We don't have the audio yet, I don't think, on the
Okay.
website. Is that right, Anne?
Not yet, not on the website, but we will be. We've had, as Suzanne mentioned, that we do have a song. I did post the lyrics on which are beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, great.
I did post the lyrics on there, but in terms of having the audio file there, we don't have that quite yet.
Right. But if somebody wanted to submit a song, let us know that you're sending us the lyrics and that there is music that goes along with it. And our hope is that we will have a section like that. So we're still in the early stages. And like I said, this is a living, growing, I think of it as an organism.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
we can
very
all
exciting.
participate in.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Anne and I we're just gathering it. It's not us. It's all of us.
Mhm. So
Wonderful.
beautiful.
Yeah, well,
Beautiful.
it's a lovely concept and something we can all contribute to. And we want to thank both of you for bringing it to our attention and to everyone who's joined us to be able to spread the word in their own ways. Yeah. We did have a question on the chat box, which was about how to make vegan friends. And actually, the person is in Los Angeles, so I'll just say I'm in Los Angeles too. And one of the things we talked about earlier was these vegan spirituality groups. And Suzanne runs the one in Philadelphia, and I run the one in Los Angeles. So you're welcome to look up veganspirituality.com and join that as a way to meet people, or go to Meetup and look up vegan spirituality, and you might find something there.
Yeah.
So those are a couple ways. So I guess we're coming towards the end of our time together, and I was wondering if Anne and or Suzanne, one of you may want to do our closing. I think we usually have either closing reading or prayer or intention or visualization or something along those lines.
Suzanne has offered to read a wonderful poem.
Well, first I want to just thank you, Lisa and Judy, for setting this up, and Anne for everything that we get to do together. I'm so grateful. And thank you all for participating and having an interest, and hopefully spreading the word. Join us in the PAUW Project. So this is a little tiny portion of a poem that I keep in my wallet, and I pull it out at times when I feel maybe overwhelmed by the suffering that I know is out there, or how can I, one person, make much of a difference? And this always gives me heart. So let's pause for a moment and tune into our own being. Feeling so grateful to have this time together. So hopefully I can read the tiny little print here. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching. I'm sorry, I have to get better glasses.
That's okay, no worries.
Really
We totally
small.
understand. Many of us relate.
Really small. Here we
Yes.
go. It's too beautiful. I don't want to mess it up. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. And the thought of just one life helping, I'm sure all of us have found injured animals or decided we're not going to smash that bug or whatever. Yes, I shall not have lived in vain.
Wow, what an incredible and profound concept to end on tonight. It's so touching, and I know I deeply value that level of a connection to animals, and that's a good day for me if I've helped an insect or
Yes.
helped
Right.
rescue an animal. That's always a blissful feeling. So may we all feel that level of bliss.
Yes. Yes.
And that was Emily Dickinson, is that right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
poet. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank
Yes.
you.
And thanks again to both of you. I'm full of gratitude to both of you for what you're doing and what you've launched to given birth to in the world. This is so, so exciting. And hopefully everyone will stay in touch and you can contact them through the website. And also thanks to everybody for joining us. It's been such a lovely conversation and we're very grateful to all of you. And we hope to see you. We do these every couple months, every other month. And so hopefully we'll see you at the next one. And we can say our favorite namaste vegan, which seems to be our ultimate close.
And I should say that both Anne's and my emails are on the website. So
great.
if people want to reach out individually, please do.
Thank you.
Yay.
So much.
So together,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
we'll envision a vegan world together.
Yes.
Namaste vegan.
Namaste.
Namaste, vegan.
Thanks everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.